Glad to have you back. It is still TVC Breakfast, and we are looking at the retained MPR rate in Nigeria and the implication for the Nigeria's economy. We have in the studio a financial analyst, Johnson Chukwu, and an economist, Paul Igbinoba, who doesn't really agree with the CBN on the issue of forex exchange management. Okay, so let's go back to it, the demand and the supply issue.
Yes.
What's your contention with that?
You see, now, because of the capital controls, that is because of the administrative management of foreign exchange, as we all know, a lot of foreign investors have left the country because they're not sure if they invest here, they can take out their dividends, their money when they want to. So that policy, in fact, is like shooting ourselves in the foot. The Nigerian economy is so huge with great prospects. We don't need to be afraid. Already, despite your anxiety, the naira was developed from 197 to 305 officially. All right. The black market rate has moved to now to 498 per dollar. The BDC rate is 399. So already things have gone haywire. So what are we afraid of? We're just afraid of fear, nothing else.
So we should take IMF's advice?
No. If you, without taking an IMF facility, just deregulate the market. Let it be a free market. And when that happens, what might happen in the short term, perhaps within a 3-month period, is that the naira might nosedive officially to perhaps maybe 400 or thereabout. But I tell you, what's going to happen in the short to medium term, within a year, is that the rate between the official rate and the black market will crash. It is going to crash. And before you know it, and now with that, foreign exchange from non-CBN sources will start flowing in. You start having liquidity. FDIs, foreign direct investors, will start coming in. Portfolio investors will start coming in because the market is free. They can, invest. They can, enter and exit anytime. And all of these concerns of central bank will just fizzle out because the market will just solve the problem. That's how it works. Egypt has done it. Why can't we do it?
Now, when it comes to this protection, this close protection, Christian, Johnson, let me come to you on this. What is that thing? What is the central bank trying to protect? If we all know, okay, open this thing up, let monies come in, let FDIs come in, let all of this. What is that? What are they trying to protect?
A couple of things that the central bank is focusing on or trying to protect. One is the issue of inflation rate. The inflation rate we've seen in the past couple of months was largely driven by pass-through effect of the foreign exchange rate. So a higher exchange rate will also impact on inflation rate. 2, asset devaluation. You're going to see situations where the local assets held in local currency, will be devalued to the point of the adjustment, to the extent of the adjustment of exchange rates. But that is not to say that we must hold on to a fictitious or notional exchange rate that does not represent anything. The exchange rate is supposed to represent the capacity, the strength of your economy. So if your economy doesn't have the strength to maintain a particular exchange rate, you have to allow it to adjust. Simple reason, when it's like absorption mechanism for the economy. When the demand, if you see exchange rate as a commodity, when the demand outstrips supply, what happens? The price will go up. Is that not so? And if the price goes up, it will incentivize producers to produce more of those goods that will lead to improvement in supply. That also applies in the management of exchange rate. If you adjust your exchange rate, more alternative sources of outflow will begin to come back because that exchange rate looks attractive to them. And that will improve supply. And as long as there is no uptick in demand, price will moderate. And I think that's what Paul was explaining.
Okay.
So, all right, we'll come back to that. Now, the legal backing for Monetary Policy Committee is Section 12, subsections 1, 2.5 of the CBN Act of 2007 as amended, which states that in order to facilitate the attainment of price stability to support the economic policy of the federal government, there shall be a committee of the bank known as the Monetary Policy Committee, the MPC.
All right, the MPC consists of the governor of the central bank, who is the chairman, the 4 deputy governors of the CBN, 2 members of the board of directors of the CBN, 3 members appointed by the president, 2 members appointed by the CBN governor. But let's just, before we go further, the MPC has a technical committee, an implementation committee really, and the job of that implementation committee, they meet like every other day. They decide the projection or perhaps the withdrawal of liquidity in the system. So the general, what we've just explained now is the general body, where you have the technical committee, the body itself that meet every other day to decide if you have too much money in circulation.
And how these strategies really translate into the everyday thing.
Okay.
Now, the functions of the MPC includes, but not limited to, review of economic and financial conditions in the economy, determining appropriate stance of policy in the short to medium term, regular review of the CBN monetary policy framework, effective communication of monetary financial policy decisions to the public, and the MPC meets quarterly except otherwise in the event of an emergency. All right, that's a big one. All right, let's get into the issue of agriculture, because there is at the communique they sent out. In part of it said that agriculture is going to play a big role in the recovery and the growth. But what we are seeing now, is there any prospect that agriculture is going to be part of the machine by which will bring Nigeria out of this recession?
Well, there's no doubt that agriculture has a major role to play. But at the same time, okay, you could say it is a low-lying fruit, because in a short term, in a year or two, you can actually produce a lot. A lot has actually been done in that regard. The last administration, the Minister then of Agriculture, Dr. Akin, what's his name? Adewumi was really quite like a revolutionary, a missionary. He did a whole lot of things. He introduced dry season farming that has really turned around that sector right now. A lot can still be done. But you see, in itself, agriculture cannot just by itself bring about the kind of dynamic transformation you need in a short time in terms of the GDP, particularly in terms of foreign exchange earnings. Our manufacturers' potential lies essentially, primarily in manufacturers. That is where you're going to actually diversify, because basically it is the export base. We need non-oil exports. Okay, you're exporting cocoa and all that, but what is it again? The value of cocoa exports is less than, in fact, it's not even up to 10% or even 5% of oil exports. So you need to actually identify major manufacturer exports and quickly mobilize to develop them, for us. We keep on expanding, the space for food production and for the production of inputs from that sector in terms of industrial input. But then we should have a multi-pronged approach, not only agriculture, but also looking at industrial production. Don't let's focus only on just one sector. Manufacture is so key to diversifying our export base.
And the system, since CBN said now they've expanded their foreign exchange supply to the power sector, that they're giving them more foreign forex to work with. That, of course, should help the manufacturing sector, plus that the manufacturers actually have access to forex as we speak. Would that help in any way?
Well, the CBN has tried to, they say they are allocating as much as 60% of foreign exchange to manufacture, although that again is controversial, because manufacturing contributes just about 10% of GDP. It's to go back to creating a level playing field. But going back to the issue of power supply, you discover that right now we have just about 2,900 megawatts. There's this ding-dong thing.
2,600.
Okay.
62.
I think the last thing they said last night was 2,900. The problem, I think, if you ask me, because time is going.
We're asking you.
Two things that government needs to do to really turn around the economy. One, like I said, deregulate and embrace market-based reform. Two, have a robust peace-building program in the Niger Delta. Because it's so strategic to want to oil production. If you want oil to go up to 2.2, make peace with those fellows there. Secondly, if you want gas supply to power industry, make peace with them, because if they burst the gas pipelines,
All right.
And that is the reason why gas supply, power supply is 2,000 megawatts, because we have capacity for up to 7,000 megawatts.
7,000.
But we are only producing 2.9 because, 2,000, that's because of the political problem there. Basically, let's embrace democracy, both in the political realm, down there.
Okay, let's bring Johnson
in market
here.
forces as well.
Let's bring
Okay.
Johnson to react to this. And there are allegations, I don't know if you've heard, some allegations talking about this MPR, the rate at 14%, how the banks borrowed this money. Some insiders, the CBN makes some money from this rate, and that's why it's been pegged at this particular point. I don't know if there are allegations really flying around.
I've never heard of it.
Okay.
But I will discuss it from a technical point of view.
Okay.
I'm sure when you read out the decisions of MPC, you made mention of the asymmetric corridor of plus 200 and minus 500. That means that the deposit, standing deposit rate is 14 plus 200, which means that if the banks the standing facility rate is plus 200 basis points, which means if the banks want to borrow from central bank, they will borrow at 14 plus 2%, which is 16%. Then the standing deposit rate is minus 500 basis points, which means the banks have to deposit money with the central bank. They have to deposit at 9%, which is 14% minus 5%. So if the banks have to borrow at 16%, the short-term treasury bill rate, which is the 91-day, the shortest 91-day bill, the shortest primary market bill is 91-day bill, is going for about 14.6%. So you can borrow at 16% and go and buy an instrument of 14.6%, though the T-bills is a discounted instrument, you collect your interest upfront. The effective yield on a 91-day bill is not as high as the standing facility rate. So no bank will arbitrage on short-term instruments, unless they want to arbitrage on long-term instruments. But the challenge of arbitraging on long-term instrument, medium-term instrument, which is the 364-day bill, which is going for about 18.6%. The implication is that if they are short of cash and they need to discount that bill, they're going to take a huge loss. So I do not see that arbitrage opportunity at current MPR rate.
Okay. Well, Paul has talked about the issue of allow demand and supply rule the market and run the market and determine things. What will be your solution?
Well, the market forces are the most objective force in economic space. But I have to put but. There are instances where market forces fail. At that point, the intervention has to take place.
Okay.
But largely, economies should be driven by the private sector, where the forces of demand and supply will determine the production of goods and services. Then, when there is market failure, the bureaucracy will now intervene to strengthen the system.
Johnson,
Johnson
is a politician this morning.
Johnson is a politician.
That's really true. See, really, nobody's advocating 100%, reign of market forces.
Right.
When there's a need for government to invest, you mentioned one, there's market failure. Those are exceptional cases.
Okay.
CBN does that. They always have that option. But primarily let market forces have its way.
Yes. Paul Igbenova, thank you very much for joining us this morning. And Johnson Chukwu, we officially tag you as a politician.
You guys are the politicians today.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Right. This is where we come to the end of today's edition of the program. Tomorrow we'll be back again with the Friday's edition. Thank you for spending your morning with us. We talked about the African football earlier on, and now we have We just discussed the economy of Nigeria and prospects. Have a great day ahead. I am Mike Okwache.
And I am Busolami Nwashe. Bye for now.